Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 84 of the Ask the Coach show, where PingSkills answers your table tennis questions. Today, we talk about how to vary the pace of your topspin strokes, whether you should put the thumb on the back of your bat for the backhand shots. We discuss the difference with sponge and no sponge for long pimples, and give some advice on attending your first tournament. As always, Super Coach Alois Rosario is here with me to answer your questions. Welcome, Alois.
Morning, Jeffrey. How are you this morning?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you. I'm ready for another big show.
Yeah, and we've got a bit of an update from Brock, I see, Jeff.
Yes, we do, and Brock, people are becoming very interested in your progress, I must say. And so Brock said, your tip, let me read this properly, your tip for the loop did work this time, but I lost again. Oh, no. Keep going, Brock.
That's
We're
it.
all waiting for the day when you can beat the tall guy.
You'll have to send us some pictures of your victory when it happens.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's jump into the PingSkills question of the day from yesterday, Alice, which was, how long can Samsonov stay competitive with the best in the world?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think it can be that much longer, surely. He's 39 years of age, but I mean, to win the Qatar Open is amazing. So I was reading a little bit. So Ovcharov said on social media that he had a bit of a sore stomach, or he had a bit of an upset stomach, so he didn't have, the power that he thought he should have, and all that sort of stuff. But still, he still won the tournament, Qatar Open. I mean, against the top Chinese, probably not at this stage, but gee, I mean, he's number 12 in the world. That's pretty impressive at 39 years of age. Maybe another year or two.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Jorgen Persson, Jean-Michel Save, they kept playing for a long time, but staying up at number 12, it's very impressive from Samsonov.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a nice simple game, I suppose. And he contacts and controls the ball so well. There's not a lot of the finer contact, so maybe he can maintain that. Yeah, I mean, physically he still looks all right. He said he had a few problems at Qatar Open, and I think he thanked the physio that helped him out. So obviously a few issues with the body, as I'm sure there would be at 39 years of age.
Indeed, but yeah, I just can't help thinking that the age is going to catch up with him. The reflexes are going to slow down, his speed's going to slow down just slightly, and it doesn't take much at that level to drop off. So yeah, I'd like to see him go on, but I'm with you, Alice. I can't see him lasting, more than a couple of years. But prove us wrong, Samsonov. Show us you can do it.
And then he'll have a life in the World Veterans. So I reckon he'd do okay in the World Vets next year.
I think so. All right, well, let's move on to the PingSkills question of the day, which is, what was the most important thing you learned at your first tournament? Okay, so jump on to pingskills.com, click on the blog link, you'll find all the shows, and leave a comment to let us know your thoughts. All right, Alice. Well, I think that is quite a good segue into one of the questions from Andre, who says, I am going for the tournament, and I need help with what equipment I need, e.g. what kind of clothing, number of bats, and so on. I'd like to know everything so I don't embarrass myself at the tournament. Thanks in advance.
Yeah, so firstly, Andre, don't get too stressed about it. A lot of players go to their first tournaments, and so I'm sure you won't be the only person there playing their first tournament. As far as bats, just try to make sure that you've got an ITTF logo. I might use black one better. Maybe black one better. Yeah. So on there, you'll see that there's an ITTF logo about there. Okay. So make sure that it's got an ITTF logo on the rubber that you're using. And then you can look up the rubber on the ITTF website as well. Or there is an app that you can use. It's called LARC, L-A-R-C, that you can download, and there it lists all the recommended or all the approved racket coverings. So you can have a look at that as well. So that's your racket. I mean, one's usually enough. You know, don't stress about having 2 rackets or 10 rackets or anything like that. Just take your favourite racket along. As far as clothing, just make sure you wear some shorts, just a sports shirt, and try to have it as one colour as possible. So don't have too many things on it, because sometimes they object to things like that. So just try to have one colour, not too many big logos or or different things on there. And if you can find out what colour ball that the tournament is using, whether it's a white ball or whether it's an orange ball, and just make sure your shirt isn't too much of that colour. So if it's a white ball, I mean, things like that are okay with a bit of white there, but if you just wear a white shirt, you might not get away with it, or you probably won't get away with it. So they're the main things. Wear a pair of sneakers, runners, just some soft-soled shoes, so that you can move around anyway. So, but apart from that, don't stress too much about it, Andre. Just get out there and have fun and see how you go.
Indeed, Andre. Good luck with it. It's a great move to go to a tournament. And the best way to learn these things is just go there and play your first tournament. You'll have a great time and you will learn lots. So good luck, Andre. Let us know how you get on. All right, now Friendy has asked a question about the grip, Alois, and he says, I want to ask about the thumb on the backhand. Some people told me to put my thumb a little bit up on the rubber, but some others told me to only put it on the paddle just like the usual grip. What are your thoughts on this, Alois?
Yeah, and Friendy said that he spied me putting my thumb up sometimes. So in general, I think it's best to just keep it down there like that. So in that position, your hand is more relaxed, and again, it's a more natural position for your hand, like that. If you're doing that, it's like you've got your thumb up, so you will start to tighten up in this sort of area here a little bit. So just try to keep it down as much as possible. He's talked about getting a little bit more control when you put that thumb up there. You do tend to get a bit more control on the racket, but yeah, you are locking up your wrist slightly. So just in general, just try to keep the thumb down as much as you can.
Yeah, and I think also, Alois, if you put the thumb up, then you've got the problem about switching grips when the ball changes to your forehand, so you've got to worry about those things. And if you look, again, I always like to look at the top players in the world. They can play unbelievable backhand without needing that thumb there. So it's not necessary for control, and I think it just adds another complication when switching between forehand and backhand.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I mean, especially when that ball's starting to come faster too, you just haven't got time to be switching. You grip too dramatically. So yeah, try to keep it down, Friendy.
All right, there you go, Friendy. All right, now Ralph has asked, when I want to vary between a fast loop and a slow loop off a heavy chop, could you please explain the 2 different techniques to achieve those shots? How open should the blade be? How much should you let the ball drop? How much should the ball reach into the wood? Can you give some advice for Ralph, Alois?
Yeah. So Ralph, there's 2 things you can do to generate more speed. So one is you're playing your same stroke, but you are moving your bat through faster. By moving your bat through faster, then the ball is going to come off faster. The other factor to generate more speed is then to start to flatten out the contact. So you talk about the ball going more into the wood. So what we mean there is that the ball's sinking into the rubber and coming or hitting the wood behind the rubber a little bit more. So that does generate more speed. Okay, so it's like when you smash, you hit the ball very flat, and the ball will come out faster. So it's a bit of a trade-off. The brushing gives you more spin and a safer shot with a bigger margin for error. The flatter ball gives you more speed but less margin for error. So the brushing contact does that, dips onto the table. The flatter contact does that, so you need a straight line to get that ball onto the table. So yeah, so it's a bit of a trade-off as far as the speed element. You know, whether you just brush the ball faster or whether you start to flatten out that contact a little bit as well.
Yeah.
As far as
so there he's talking about off a heavy backspin ball, Alois. So how would you vary it off at like a heavy backspin ball? Because I think if you go too flat, it's probably too risky off a backspin ball.
Yeah, that's right. And if the ball's up higher, you know, then you can get away with it. But again, even off that higher ball, we see a lot that the players tend to hit the ball flat and it dives into the net. So you're better off just brushing the ball in general off the heavier ball.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we've actually got a video on the forehand topspin off backspin, and there we talk a bit about coming a bit more forward if the ball's got less backspin. But if it's got the same amount, I guess, like you said, maybe the best way is just increase the speed of your swing.
Yeah, that's right. And then the other thing that he was talking about was just when you hit the ball in relation to the bounce. So definitely if you're trying to hit the ball faster, get that ball at the top of the bounce. It gives you a better margin. If you're hitting the ball, if you want to do the slower one that you're talking about, then you can just let the ball drop off the top of the bounce a little bit so that you're brushing up. So we talked a lot about the faster one there, but so with the slower one, same stroke, generating lots of brushing contact on the ball will get the ball slower, and then your stroke can be a little bit more vertical as well. So a little bit more down to up to get the slower stroke, a little bit more back to forward to get the faster stroke.
Okay, so for the slower stroke, you still want plenty of topspin, so you still want your bat moving faster, but maybe you're just brushing it and actually getting more spin so the ball comes off slower?
Yes, yeah, you can do that. Yep, so by brushing the ball, by hitting the ball thinner, the ball will move slower forward. So by hitting the ball flat, as we talked about before, the ball will go flat and fast. By hitting the ball thin and more vertically, then you'll get the slower topspin on the ball as well.
Okay, so plenty to think about there, Ralph. Get out on the table and just practice, try all of those tips and see how it works for you. Great question. All right, next we have a question from Nicola, who says, hello, I am interested in investing in a new sheet of long pimples. I'm wondering what the difference between Ox, no sponge, and say a 1 to 1.2 millimeter sponge is. How will it affect the play style of the rubber and my arsenal of shots?
Yeah, so Ox means that so this is a sheet of long pimples here. Ox means that there's no sponge underneath it, so it's just wood underneath it there. When you add some sponge under there, you're going to get a bit more control of the ball. So with the Ox, it's a little bit more difficult to control because the ball's hitting wood and it's coming out much faster. With the sponge underneath it, the ball sinks in a little bit more and it's on your racket for a little bit longer, so you can tend to control the ball a bit better. So that's the main thing, Nicola. So the thicker the sponge, the more control you'll get with the long pimples. The thinner the sponge or the no sponge, you'll get less control. However, the advantage is that you tend to get better effect with the long pimples without sponge. So the ball will reverse a lot better. So if they put top spin and you hit it, it's going to go back with a bit more backspin. So yeah, so that's the main advantage.
Okay, so then I guess it's really a personal preference on whether you choose the ox or go for the sponge. Are there any guidelines, like for a beginner versus an advanced, about what to use, or what the
Yeah.
majority of people use?
Yeah, so I think initially it's probably good just to have a thin sponge underneath at least. So 1 mil to 1.2 mil sponge underneath to just get a bit more control of the ball so that you can get a few more balls on the table. As you advance, then you can start to think about taking the sponge away to get a little bit more effect with it.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for that, Nicola, and hopefully that answers your questions. All right, now on to a question from Brock, who's jumped on and asked a question using the Google Q&A app, which you can all do when you're watching the show live. So thanks, Brock. He says, I have a problem. When I am playing in the school, I often hit my finger, very often, nearly all the balls I get. Sometimes the player who is worse than me wins. Do you have some tips to help me with that, or is there nothing I can do?
Uh, There's a couple of things. One, just make sure that that finger isn't creeping up the bat there, like that. Just make sure it's staying nice and low. The second thing is to just watch the ball better. So if you're hitting the ball on your finger, it'll usually mean that you haven't tracked the ball very well. So instead of the ball hitting there, it's hitting there. And as you can see, it's not much of a difference, is it? It's only like, a few centimeters difference. So watching the ball is really important to track the ball properly and get the ball closer to the center of the racket. So it'll hit your finger if you're just miscuing your contact a bit. So they're the two things. Make sure, firstly, that you're keeping that finger down away from that hitting area, and secondly, that you're watching the ball really carefully.
Excellent. All right, we'll try that out, Brock. Really focus on watching the ball and let us know if it improves in that area. Well, thank you, everybody. That wraps up show 84. Make sure you visit pingskills.com, sign up for our free newsletter. We've got lots of great table tennis information on the website. And thank you, Alois.
Thanks, Jeff, and have a great day, PingSkillers. We'll see you tomorrow morning, Friday.
We certainly will. Thanks, everyone. Catch you tomorrow.